All right, everyone, we can go ahead and get started. The time now is 5:32 and the date is May 26, 2022. This is a committee of the whole meeting called for the FY23 budget presentation. We're joined by members of finance, and I'll allow you all to introduce yourselves at the appropriate time. And I know this is not standard for a committee of the whole meeting, but I think it's appropriate in light of what's happened in terms of the tragedy in Texas, that we offer up a moment of silence for the victims of the mass shooting that took place so tragically. Certainly not a parent, but can empathize with any parent who had to drop off their kids the next day to know that it must have felt different. So with that being said, if possible, I would like to offer up just a few moments of silence for the victims, including students, teachers, and also the husband of one of the teachers that actually passed recently. So if possible, we'll take that moment of silence now. Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. I'd like to recognize the counselors on the call today. We are joined by Counselor Walsh, at-large City Councilor, Ward 1 City Councilor Michael Fenton, at-large City Councilor Jesse Lederman, as well as at-large City Councilor Justin Hurst. So without further ado, I will pass it to Finance to kick us off, and we'll just appreciate you introducing anyone who will be speaking on behalf of the budget this evening as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lindsay, Hackett, and I are here to present the FY23 budget to the council. On the call, we have the Board of Assessors with Patrick, Matt, and Jessica, and we also have a couple of staffers from finance with Hamida, Vadrana, Kira, and Sean. They'll be here to talk about the board's going to be here to talk about anything related to taxes and tax relief that we have put into the budget. So we'll go through the presentation and then we'll leave plenty of time for question and answer at the end. But I will have Lindsay put up the presentation and go through it with everyone.
So am I good to share the screen?
Yes, Lindsay, thank you.
Okay. All right, can everyone see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, so thanks for being here for the presentation of the FY23 Mayor's Recommended Budget. So this presentation is going to be going over a couple things. We'll go over the FY23 budget process. We'll do a revenue overview, an expense overview, and then we'll review the tax relief plan. All right, so FY23's budget, sorry, this is in the way. Okay. Okay, FY23's budget is $819 million. That is an 8.4% increase over FY22's adopted budget. The major driver in the increase is the school department and an increase in Chapter 70 state aid. And the city side, which includes city departments, pension, benefits, increases at 3.8% over FY22 adopted. So some of the budget highlights, and just so you're all aware, this is really a maintenance budget. It's really a level service.
So we're having trouble getting Tim Allen and Zeta Govin into the Zoom. Is it, we've used the one that Sean sent out today. Is that accurate?
Yes. I'm not sure they would be having issues.
He sent it this morning.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm gonna just.
I can also re-forward it to them by way of email if that helps.
You don't have them from Sean, Tim?
No, I got an email from Sean yesterday.
No, it came out this, he said,
Hold on, I got one now.
came this morning, yeah.
Let me see it. All right, let's try that one. I mean, it's going around and around and around. We'll see.
Okay,
Are other people on?
yeah, we have, 5, I think. I don't see all the faces, but I think we have 5 city councilors on right now.
We're in the spin cycle here. Let's see. So that was in before.
Is there a member of Focus on the call? I don't believe there is.
Maybe he should leave the meeting and come back in.
Yeah, perhaps refresh.
Mr. President, they're not showing up in the waiting room.
Unable to connect.
Okay,
I don't see any participants waiting in the waiting room now.
Do you need a quorum or not?
Stay on.
No votes are going to be taken this evening.
I mean, I just zoomed in from my phone and it worked fine.
Yeah. I know something's wrong with my phone. I mean, I was on a Zoom yesterday for City Hall, but I had trouble with a couple times this week.
Want me to call you on the speakerphone here? I don't know what open meeting law allows, but.
Yeah, I mean, if that works, sure.
Mr. President, is it okay if I call at least Councilor Allen on the speakerphone here so we can listen in?
I mean, there's going to be no votes taken as well. I mean, this is no
Informational. Okay,
Oh, it's informational, so I think that's fine.
all right. Tim, I'll call you.
All right, thanks.
Sorry everyone for the delay here. Never a dull moment with IT. We are also joined by Councilor Tracye Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'd like to keep out. All right, Tim, you're on, at least on speakerphone.
Okay,
Sorry about that, guys.
Hello?
All right, no, you there? Tim, you there?
EJ, why don't you just let me call?
All right, you can do that.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I'll take care of it. Marcus, I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Councilor. And the same for Councilor Govan. If someone perhaps can maybe reach out to her and do the same in terms of like the speakerphone, or that might work. Lindsay, you can proceed.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start from the top. FY 23's mayor's recommended budget. It is an 8.4% increase over FY 22's adopted budget, the majority of which is an increase over on the school department side. Their budget's increasing by 10.8%, which is driven by an increase in Chapter 70 state aid funding. The city side's budget, which includes all of our departments, pension benefits, is increasing by 3.8% over FY 22's adopted budget. So as I mentioned, so this year's budget is really a maintenance budget, and we did request a level service budget. We didn't invest in too many new programs. It really is just holding strong to the current services that we provide for the city, which is reflected in the low increase over FY 22. So we do adhere to financial sustainability and responsibility with funding to address our long-term liabilities. There are no layoffs in this budget. We continue our investment in the public schools, which is $250,000 for early childhood education to the school department from the city's general fund. We do continue our commitment to the safety of Springfield's residents, visitors, and businesses with investment in public safety with our technology, our body-worn cameras, personnel, and we did increase shot spotter coverage in the FY23 fiscal year budget. And we do maintain city services, as I mentioned, to residents and neighborhoods, including libraries, parks, recreation programming, summer programming, sidewalk and street maintenance, terrace landscaping, and continued funding for stump removal, which was added last year. So the beginning of our budget process starts with the multi-year financial plan, which is generally released after the governor's budget. This year's multi-year plan started us off at an $18.3 million gap with expenses obviously outrunning revenue. So from there, we do send requests to departments. That $18.3 million increased to $27.4 million with expenses again overrunning revenue. So that was the gap that we started with. How did we get down to zero? How did we solve the budget gap? So I have outlined the solutions here. 12.9 million came from expense reductions, some salaries and OTPS offset to grants, some reductions in departmental spending requests. We did have a debt service schedule increase because of the March issuance. That was for some capital projects. And then we also were able to increase revenue this year. We increased a lot of the local source revenue, departmental revenue up to FY20 estimates, pre-COVID estimates. Our actuals are coming in, as you all are aware, our revenue is outpacing our estimates close to FY20 actuals. So we were able to increase those. We did also increase medicinal and recreational marijuana revenue since we have a little more data to support that. And we also added the shooting range lease revenue. That was new for FY23 as well. So for property values. So,
all right.
So for property values, we have our 2.5%, which was built in. And in this budget, we have $4.2 million built in for new growth. And we also reduced the overlay $1 million, which brought it down to 1.5, which is the same thing we did for last year. One-time revenue. There is no reserves, there is no ARPA funding, and there is no free cash to balance the budget. There will be $3.5 million in free cash to reduce the levy, but that free cash is not to balance the budget. We're able to balance the budget with the levy, but we're going to reduce the levy with 3.5 of free cash. So here's a revenue overview. As you know, we're heavily reliant on state aid. Almost 62% of our total revenue budget does come from state aid, 30% from property taxes. So you can see these numbers here. Again, there's just a note, the property tax revenue, the levy that shows there is going to be reduced to 245 million due to the offset of the 3.5 of free cash. Then we have our expense overview. Again, this is what I like to call the Pac-Man chart, where the school department really takes up over 65% of the overall budget. And then the other two heavy hitters are our benefits and the public safety departments. And the rest of the departments are kind of added in there for the remainder of our expenses. So here is just a shot of the schedule of appropriations that you'll be voting on eventually. This is the budget broken down by department. It shows a variance between FY22's adopted budget and FY23's recommended budget. And now we'll move on to the tax relief plan. So it's 3 parts. There is a reduction to the city's tax levy. there's a modification to clause 41C, and there's a home rule legislation. So with the tax levy reduction, so initially we did commit 2.5 million last year for this year's tax levy. The mayor added an additional 1 million, bringing it up to 3.5, bringing the total free cash investment over to $7 million over the last 3 years. So this relief is direct relief for tax bills for every taxpayer in the city. It's not a permanent decrease in the levy, but it will provide immediate relief for FY23 tax bills. Again, we say this all the time, the FY23 values and tax rate information is not yet available. So how this relief will affect each tax bill, we don't know that yet. So the 41C exemption, which is an exemption for seniors. So the current regulations are, the eligibility is 70 and over, the amount is $500. And you see the COLA, you see the income limits there. So we're going to amend it for FY23. We're reducing the age eligibility to 65 and over. We're doubling the exemption amount to 1,000. We're adding a 7% COLA on to the single and married income restrictions, and it is available annually. So then finally, there's a home rule legislation, which is intended to parallel the 41C, but make it available to people to taxpayers under 65. So it will be still the $1,000. The income level will remain the same, but it will be available to everybody under the age of 65. It's the first of its kind. DOR is requiring us to submit special legislation in order to do this. It will be direct relief on tax bills for low income taxpayers. It will be available annually. And the funding for this program will be earmarked in the MGM's Community Development Fund. There's a small asterisk there, which we can explain if you want to, but just pending passage of the governor's supplemental budget, we will be able to use the Community Development Fund for this use. And that's it.
Right. Thank you, Lindsay, for that presentation. We'll just get back to the regular screen. If you can stop sharing, please. Thank you. All right, and with that, we'll entertain questions from the council, starting with Councilor Hurst, followed by Councilor Whitfield.
I actually wanted to see that slide again, that for the seniors and for those under 65, and I guess maybe I don't need to see the slide, but how many more additional people are we looking to capture? How many people who are paying taxes right now fit into those levels now? And then how many more would fit into those levels with the new exemptions, I guess, if that makes sense? Do we have any idea of that?
Hi, this is Patrick, the chair of the Board of Assessors. And no, we don't have a specific number of how many people would qualify who would be under 65 at the moment. I will say we average about 280 eligible households who receive a 41C now, and that is based on the age of being over 70. So we're going to change that to 65. Clearly, that's going to increase the number there. So we don't know the exact number that we would be looking at for people who are under 65.
Got it. Is there any way to access that information, or?
It's kind of hard to really sort of pin that information down. We can certainly try to come up with some reasonable estimates. So I don't have a specific answer at the moment.
Okay, and how do we normally make people aware of these, of this, of them fitting into this particular category of these exemptions? How do we do it? I know at one point in time we had talked about attaching it to a bill to make sure folks are aware of it and take advantage of it. Is there any plan for what it is that we're going to do now?
Well, the immediate changes to the 41C, which would lower the age, also do a cost of living adjustment. And as Lindsay said, that would be 7% this year. And that would start this year, but that would be cumulative going forward. So to me, that's kind of one of the biggest things I think that would help this program, even the statutory, the 41Cs, because I think people over time, you're going to earn more in income if that cap doesn't change. So it's really important, I think, that we do the cost of a living adjustment this year. So I think we're going to be introducing that for a meeting in June. And how it's sort of promoted is the mayor put out a press release last year when we were all discussing tax rates. We also put out a press release then. The concept of putting something in the bill, I have talked to the collector's office about that. One of the issues there is it's like all or nothing. It kind of goes into every single bill, including commercial real estate and personal property, which would not be eligible for these programs. But once we do something, if we get special legislation passed, or even maybe with the changes of the 41C, we can certainly look into sending out a mailer of some kind, maybe to single family homes and condos that could potentially qualify for this.
Got it. And my last question is the 3.5 million that is coming from free cash. Is that just for residential properties, or is that for businesses as well?
It's for all tax. It's for all tax bills, Councilor Hurst. It benefits every taxpayer, both residential. There's no way for us to split up residential versus commercial, so it benefits everyone.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hurst. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say that I think the mailing is really important, but we also need to think about some of the organizations that service the folks that are impacted, or the folks that can have access to these resources. So there's like Mass Senior Action and others that maybe put in flyers at the senior centers and things like that, so they could get the information. And there's other organizations that deal with low income families. So maybe like even creating a flyer or pamphlet of some sort and bringing them to those locations so they are aware of it. But my question was, how much property tax do we still have to raise in this budget, even with the 3.5 million deduction?
It's on, and just so you're all aware, I did also email you all the presentation, so you can have it up on your screen if we're not screen sharing here. But on slide 6, it shows the total in property taxes. It's the 248.5, but the note there shows that that levy amount will be reduced to 245 when we offset the 3.5 million.
And how much was it last year?
I would have to look that.
Yeah, I don't have that number on me.
It's in the budget though, right? Because don't
It is.
It is.
Yes.
It's all in there.
Yes.
Okay, because I haven't had time to look at the budget, guys. Sorry. So I just wanted to know, like, because the conundrum is raising the property tax at the end, and how much property tax we have to collect in order to meet what we put in the budget. And so I want to know if that's going to be an increase, because our bills ultimately are going to have to meet that number, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm happy for the decrease of the $3.5 million. However, if it's still going up, the amount that we have to raise, that's still going to mean property tax bills are going to go up. So especially if we're giving a lot of reductions to seniors and others, we're still going to have to meet that number. And that's the problem that we fall into year after year after year. So I would be really anxious to see what that number is that we have to meet, and I'll look it up and I'll have it ready for the next meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Whitfield. We're also joined, Councilor Govan, I'm glad you could join us. It's your turn next, feel free.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I couldn't get into Zoom for some reason. So my questions, I guess, had to do around some of the same stuff. I know that Patrick and I have met, and thank you so much for meeting me and enlightening me on some of the abatement issues. So I like the idea of trying to get the word out to more residents. I know Pat and I had talked about putting a flyer in, you know, the mailings. I think another place that we could put the information in is in the Good Neighbor Handbook that we put out every year. I think it'd be a great place to have it there. And then that way the residents would all have it. And anyone that they thought might qualify could apply for the 41C relief. My question, and I think I heard the answer in the presentation, was exactly how much money will the residents see as a relief on their taxes? And I think you said that there was no way to tell that right now. That'd be, I think it'd be a great number to have, because when our constituents ask us, we can say, well, you know, this is what you should be seeing, hopefully, or, you know, something to just let them know, because that's one of the main concerns I think that a lot of people have. As we know, property taxes go up every year. And if they go up this year and, you know, we're saying that they're getting a relief, but they increase for whatever reason, property taxes or whatever, property values or whatever might go up. So the taxes might go up. So they're not going to see an increase, which is a concern. Also, I didn't see or hear anything about the trash fee being eliminated, right? And I know that that's not happening, but I'm hoping that we can take a look at that for next year, possibly, because that's a big, you know, I think it's $4 million that the revenue is raised by the trash fee. And I know that we have some free cash that we could work with, although that might be too late. Another thing that I didn't see in the budget was money for the police commission. I know that we have the police commission now, and they should have some funding, I guess, for administrative assistance, any materials that they might need. I know that they meet just about every week to review cases. And I'm just wondering why there was no money for the police commission in the proposed budget. So those are my questions. Thank you so much.
I can address the question. So I'll start out with the police commission. You know, since they're just getting up and running, I have a commitment to fund the needs as they set forth or put forth as they kind of get developed in terms of what they need. They got their laptops immediately when they requested them. We also don't have funding for the settlement agreement we have with the DOJ. That'll come as soon as we get bids back and start getting a sense of what that'll cost. And I kind of would keep them as a package deal of, okay, now that we're having the settlement agreement and now that we have the commission, but if we need funding for the commission, we're committed to funding the needs as they make a case for it.
Yeah, and I think also I didn't mention an office. I believe that they should have an office where they could receive residents' inquiries, or they could see people in person at times. I know that they're volunteers for now, but I think it's a very important, you know, office that we need to be able to have in place, at least, you know, for residents to know, especially in light of the consent decree. But thank you so much.
And then as far as the trash fee, I mean, at this point, the conversations we're having is, you know, as we headed towards a recession, that it's probably not the most financially feasible thing to do is to get rid of the trash fee, as it is $4 million in our budget every year. I know we've had conversations, and I'll continue to have conversations with the mayor on it. And I know I'm sure we'll have more robust conversations as we get into the individual budget hearings next week, but that is not something we put into this budget.
Thank you, TJ and Councilor Govan. Councilor Walsh.
I see where I was muted. Okay, nice job on the presentation. Now you said that this is level funded, is that correct? Level service?
It's a level service budget, so it means the same level of service for fiscal 23 as provided in fiscal 22.
Okay, and no layoffs, which is always good news. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But how about, do you keep track of how many new people are hired?
We do. We actually have an FTE chart that is in the budget, but we can send that out separately to show the net add to the city is six FTEs right now.
And I'm always happy because I think, TJ, I don't know if you were here when they couldn't open the pools and, when we had all those issues with the budget. So it's always good to see that all these services are still being offered. But I'm wondering, has anything new been added to this budget? I know you said it's level, but
No, the only thing new that is going to be before the city council on June 6th, I believe, whenever your next June meeting is going to be 1.5 million of free cash to start finally addressing the backlog of private ways. We didn't put that in the budget as a general fund expense, but it is something that Chris Signoli has been asked to put together a list for $1.5 million worth of private way improvements. Everything else has been maintained. The sidewalk crew has been maintained. Shot spotters Shot spotters being expanded to Indian Orchard based upon the data that's out there for where we should add shot spotters. So an extra mile is added there. We didn't do much expansion because we're fearful of a potential recession and we didn't want to expand too much. We approached it as more limiting growth to the extent that we could and maintaining core services.
Yeah, well, I think that's always good. I mean, there are some things I'd certainly like to see added to the budget. I've discussed it with some of my colleagues, and it's not a new idea, but in the law department budget, I certainly think there needs to be a line item for a lawyer who just solely represents the city council point of view. I don't know if that's in there. Are there any plans for that?
It's not in there per se, but there are positions in the budget that if Judge Payne and the council work out what makes sense, then there could be money there.
Right. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that the council and the administration sometimes have different points of view, and if there's litigation for the council needs to have somebody represent them that is representing their point of view, and I'm not confident that that's there.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Whitfield, followed by Councilor Allen.
Hey, Mr. President, I just wanted to talk about the trash bill. When I was asking for relief in the trash bill, it was a one-time relief for 1 year because during the trash budget, City of Springfield gets great trash service, right? And the general fund, the enterprise fund is established because we cannot afford to have our trash collection the way it is if there was no trash fee. Now, other communities, they have to pay for their trash collection, they have to pay for the bags, or they have to bring the bags to get dumped, they have to pay for their bags. So the convenience that we get with the $90 fee or less, if you qualify, is really, really, really minimal. And the service that we get is awesome. So I just wanted it to be clear that I wasn't pushing to eliminate the trash fee forever. I was looking for like a 1 year type of relief, because doing that budget, I understand what goes into the trash collection, the dumping fees and everything else that goes into it. And the service that we get is like top notch. Like there's surrounding communities that pay a lot more on a monthly basis to get their trash handled than we do. So we just want to like keep that in mind, because what we don't want to do is eliminate the trash fee forever. And then we're stuck, and then we have to change the service that we have. And so I just wanted to clarify my point of view on the trash fee. I think we have a great trash collection service. I definitely wouldn't want to see the level of service that we have reduced or changed in any way. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor.
Thanks, Counselor Whitfield. Counselor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. I couldn't get connected like Counselor Govan for a while, so I missed some of the stuff, but I heard the last few slides, and I have just a few questions in general that I not specifically about this budget or anything I heard today. The first one is the FTEs, the question that Counselor Walsh just asked, and you said there were 6 new FTEs in the budget, TJ. How many how many FTEs do we have that are unfilled right now?
Do you have that number?
I don't have the number.
The only number I know, as I looked at it yesterday, is we have 28 vacant police positions. But I can get the number of across all the other departments
I would
as well.
say 40 to 50.
Yeah, we looked at it probably right before we published the budget, so I can get that. We can get that to the council in short order.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously the follow-up to that is, do we need any new FTEs if we've got 40 or 50 that are unfilled?
So the 6 is just a net gain in different departments, and we can provide the breakdown of the positions added. And we did eliminate a number of vacant positions in this budget that haven't been filled for as far back as 2015 and 2016. The concept, as it made sense to us, was if you haven't had it since 2015 or 16, you probably don't need it. And if you do, we'll reevaluate, because we're really just trying to limit the growth.
Yep. No, that's good. So we can, we're on the same page on that. So let's just follow up on that. This one, I don't know if it got discussed. In Elder Affairs, there hasn't really been a meal program for a while. And, Palazzo's been providing meals. But I don't know if they requested it or what, but is there any money to put a hot meals program back in Elder Affairs?
So we are actively pursuing a way to get hot meals back into the program. We put out a bid. We had 0 bidders on it. As it stands, Palazzo's had its contract extended to continue the program that they've been doing, but we're actively seeking folks to do that and be willing to use the kitchen again.
Yeah, I think it's time. It's been a couple of years, and that seems to be the most attractive thing. The Palazzo service apparently is really good, but it's not a hot meal. It's salads and sandwiches. So whatever we can do there, I want to talk to you some more about that. Secondly, also the thing I mentioned to you yesterday about how we represent our approach to environmental improvements, and being a little more specific. With climate change and everything being so prevalent and so in every discussion, it seems to be that we ought to, as a city, somehow have an environmental plan or something, which it could include, planting tons of trees, buying hybrid vehicles, and and all those kind of things. I think we need to be able to answer the question of environmental groups and feel good ourselves about the things we're doing environmentally. And I think the Lake Massasoit project is what got me thinking about it. And the natural resources that we have in the city that we don't always take great, and we do good with them, but we don't always take full advantage of them. So maybe it's not really a question for this year's budget because it's not been done that way, but I think we need to look at that, because some communities, it's going to be a responsibility of us to make sure that we're not just building new houses, but we're also planting new trees and the things that we need to do as a community. LEED buildings would be in there and such and such. So that's just a comment for the future. But I will be looking at the budget a little bit with that lens. I guess that's it for now, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Lederman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to briefly comment on the concept of the awareness of tax relief programs. And I wanted to clarify, my understanding is that the relief that is available currently for seniors, and that the proposal is to increase the amount and decrease the age. My understanding is that those programs are already listed in the bill. Is that accurate?
Patrick, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by listed in the bill, but we don't need to go to the state legislature to implement those changes. Those we can do here based on a city council order and approval of the mayor.
No, I understand that. I'm saying that I thought that the relief programs for seniors that are already in place, because it's already in place for 70 and older under a certain income, that has always been on the bill. So that there's been information in the property tax bill
On the
that goes out in the first quarter that explains that.
That's correct.
Right. What is not in the bill would be, so my assumption is that language would be updated if we update the statute and get the successful home rule petition. That should remain on the bill as it currently is and be updated to explain the increased options. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't remember honestly the specific language of the bill for the current programs, but I think the conversation with the city council has always been about sort of a separate mailer that's kind of highlighting the programs that we do have. So
no, the conversation with the city council in the past that we've brought forward has been, as we've seen continued tumultuous economic times, we've asked for the bill to include an insert that listed available home mortgage and rental assistance programs, and we've proposed that twice over the course of the pandemic, and it has not occurred. So I think we should probably do that again. But as far as the tax relief piece goes, if we're updating the statutes that allow for municipal tax relief, that language should just be updated as it currently exists. I still think we should do an insert on external programs, but we do have some language that's already on the bill that we can update further.
Counselor, I will definitely commit to working with the assessors and the treasurer collector's office on developing and making sure that we have a mailer with the appropriate information going out to residents and commercial businesses as an insert. I know we hear you loud and clear, and I think it behooves us to tell our residents that if they need assistance, that there are other programs that out there that they may qualify for. So we'll put something together.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lederman. Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, and listening to Councilor Whitfield, it jogged my memory about recycling. TJ, I know there've been discussions in the past about increasing recycling to once a week, not every 2 weeks. Is that anything that's been looked at for this budget? And wouldn't that be helpful to the city?
Well, I could talk to Chris Signoli about it. When we were talking about doing that, that was when DEP was going to force us to go down to a 65-gallon barrel. And that would then thereby have everybody increase recycling. That was the hope. And then they would require us to either give everyone 2 barrels or come every week. And DEP has since backed off of that to let us keep our 96-gallon barrels. And so I think we kind of backed off the every week thing. But I do think we need to encourage additional recycling to the extent that we can. And I think, coming up with a more robust green initiative that Councilor Lederman and Councilor Allen have talked about in recent years, and Councilor Allen just recently said it again, is I think we really need to have a focus on that just as a way to move forward as an urban city.
Right. And how about the bulk pickup? Is that
Bulk
profitable?
pickup is staying the same, even though the prices are going up, we're gonna keep the price the same, and we just added money to the enterprise fund to cover the extra disposal costs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Govan.
Hi, thank you so much, the President and TJ. And again, congratulations, TJ, on your finance, world best financier of the world.
Hero, I believe it was called the hero.
Thank you. I didn't embarrass me. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess I raised my hand because when Councilor Lederman talked about the fact that the information is on the bill, it is on the bill. I just looked at it and it's very tiny. Most of this, and I actually looked at the back of the bill because I get my bill and it's in my mortgage, so I don't really look at it. But when you look at the back of it, it is on the back, but it's in tiny writing. And I don't know if, our seniors are going to be looking at that. And when you look at it, of course, it may be a little bit confusing. So I just want to make sure that, we highlight that, especially since the changes that you guys are making with the over 65 instead of the over 70. And then also the recycling, we actually make money off of recycling from what Chris, I think we were in a meeting the other day with, I forgot who it was, but if we recycle more, then the city gets revenue. So I'm wondering if there's a way for us to increase that. That'd be great if we did every week pickup of the recycling or get 2 barrels like we do. So I think those are the last points that I wanted to make. Thank you, Mr. President and everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. I'm seeing no hands in the queue, TJ, but I'd like to just kind of double down on something one of my colleagues said. Councilor Walsh mentioned council having its own kind of independence legal representation. I just wanted to add just a note there to move up because I think there's value there. Over the past, year and a half that I've served as president now, it's been tough at times administratively when it comes to getting input on certain issues or even, having someone draft reasons if there's something that fails due to in terms of our hearings meetings. And I think that having own legal representation will kind of take off some of the legwork that the law department has to do in terms of filling that void. But I also think too that because there are so many vacancies that are not being filled and working with the city solicitor, I'm not too sure how quickly we will be set up to be as successful on this front as we have been. I know it's something we've been kind of screaming from the mountaintop for some years now. And it just seems as though the department itself is going through many changes, and those changes are certainly affecting the business of the city council in more ways than one. So if there is room and if the mayor is amenable to adding some appropriation for an independent legal representative to help us and assist us on drafting, and just like I said, the background work of some of the context around the issues that we're facing, then I think that needs to happen. I just wanted to move that up because I really think that's critical for our functioning, and I think it just helps the city, and kind of it's in its entirety in terms of when we have things that we need legal guidance on. So I just wanted to move that up as well.
I will have the conversation with the solicitor and the mayor just there to reiterate.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the council at this time?
If you could just reiterate the game plan here in the next couple of weeks.
Sure, Councilor Allen. So we have a committee of the whole. We have 2 departmental meetings. The first being, I believe, on the 31st. The next being, actually, let me look at the calendar right now where we're speaking, just so I can give you the correct information.
That's Tuesday.
And can you give us the times too?
Sure thing. Give me 1 second. All right. So we have, all right, so we have a committee of the whole 5:30 on the 31st, which is next Tuesday. And then we also have a committee of the whole the following day on the 1st at the same time at 5:30. And then after that will be when we actually take a vote on the budget. And of course, that's when the mayor provides his presentation. And I'm just looking for the date on that. Give me 1 second. Does someone have that offhand?
Is it June 14th?
June 14th, yes. Yep. And that date, I mean, that time is, no, it's not June 14th. I apologize. What I'll do, counselors, is I'll have the clerks send just the upcoming meetings kind of just clear as day, so we all have that information in sync. I'll have them do that before weekend.
Okay.
All right.
So the dates are unsure, but well, they might not be unsure. We're not sure of them right now, but
yeah, they're scheduled. I'm having a hard time finding them on the calendar, but I do know that the next one is this coming Tuesday. And then there's one the day after at the same time, 5:30.
Okay, great.
And those are presentations, no votes, correct?
Yes, exactly. Departmental hearings, yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I'm all set for now, thanks.
All right, seeing none, well, thank you to the Finance Department for the presentation today.
Thank you.
I also encourage counselors, if there's any other questions prior to the departmental hearings or the main vote for the budget, feel free to reach out to Lindsay and TJ, and they can support you on that effort as well. So thank you all for joining.